sound service. You know, if you had to pay for that kind of entertainment, we might have to save money and pay our taxes with it instead. We're going to get started with the next part of our program, although, yeah, there's our next speaker. How many of you are having a good time? I have to tell you, I went over and I want you all to know I've got good news. I went over and destroyed taxes, pork, and debt right over there.
Oh, sorry.
Shoot the cannon right over there. Make sure you do that. I do want to remind everybody we've got concessions here behind me in the ballpark, and the restrooms are right inside the gate. My fellow patriots, this is a gathering today to make known our displeasure at a government that was created of the people, by the people, and for the people, but instead has become a government that spends too much, taxes too much, borrows too much, regulates too much, and just plain interferes too much in our daily lives. You know it's bad when European socialists, Russian collectivists, and Chinese communists are telling our government in Washington, you're spending too much. Perhaps if Washington won't listen to we the people, they'll listen to these more like-minded dictators. I like the way Milton Friedman, the late great Nobel laureate economist and patriot, said it. He said if you put the federal government in charge of the Sahara Desert, in 5 years there'd be a shortage of sand. The Czech Prime Minister has described Washington's response to America's crisis as a road to hell. The Prime Minister said the U.S. has not learned the lessons of history. Of the Great Depression, America, he said, is repeating the mistakes of the 1930s with big cash injections into the economy and a drift toward protectionism and isolationism. But similar to the days of the New Deal, our government is once again inflating an economic crisis to justify expanding its power. It was called the New Deal then, but it turned out to be a bad deal, America. And it's still a bad deal for you and me, the hard-working taxpayers of this country, who as responsible taxpayers are being forced to reward failure. And by the way, this is not, everybody say not. This is not about political parties. The event today is about one thing and one thing only. It is the first 3 words of the Constitution. For those of you who attended public schools, you may or may not know what that is. We the people. Our future. One party, when they recently controlled the White House, exploited fears about terrorism to justify curtailing your civil and economic liberties. They said they had to bypass capitalism in order to save it. Yeah, right. The founders of our country anticipated such nonsense, and they had this response. Benjamin Franklin said those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. The other party exploits our fears about the financial crisis to justify taking control of mortgage and banking and credit and auto markets, and as a result moving into many other sectors that should be run by the private sector. Yeah. God help us. They moved in to fire the CEOs of private companies. My dear patriot friends, firing CEOs is not government's job. That's the job of the shareholders and the board of directors who represent them. Oh no, this is neither a new deal nor a good deal for us. We've seen the same thing in this state. Boy, I have waited a long time to say this. The entrenched good old boy network in the state capitol has told us, have you heard about it? We have a nearly $500 million shortfall. Everybody go like this, shortfall. Do not allow these big spending politicians to cause you anxiety. They never saw a tax hike, spending increase, or new regulation they didn't absolutely adore. And keep in mind, just because Frankfurt says we have a $450 million shortfall in state government doesn't mean that we don't have enough revenue to pave our roads, educate our kids, take care of our elderly. What the politicians mean when they say we have a shortfall is simply, we don't have as much of your money as we want. We want more, so therefore we have a shortfall. Ain't that clever?